Wow. Good morning. Good morning. What a beautiful oilam today. Shukayach for joining us. Very nice. I was just on a trip, so I had a little extra time. I figured I'd buy myself Mishpacha magazine so I could read it on the plane. So this was the issue that was in the beginning of Chodesh Av. So they had a few articles about the Beis Hamikdash. I was so the last time I was in Israel, on the way out in the Ben Gurion Airport, they have a big stone from the Har HaBayis that they just displayed. It felt a little wrong to have schlepping, that Israel Antiquities has the right to go schlepping stones from the Har HaBayis to display it in the
From the wall or
from the Har HaBayis, from the stones that are still sitting on, and when you come in through the Shar Hashbosses, yeah. So
in the airport?
no. Shar Hashbosses. It's not in the Arab quarter. So they have a long article over here. I'm not going to go through the article. Here's Zayid from Ataris Koyanim that has made it his business to try to not allow the Israel Antiquities to. He said that the Israel Antiquities lately did a show, and they sent a stone from the Avnei Har HaBayis to Japan. So chutzpah shebachutzpahs. Who does it belong to? Does it belong to Israel Antiquities? It belongs to Klal Yisrael. So he says that there was a lot of Rabbonim that he tells a story about in '67 that the Sephardic chief rabbi Arav Nissim made a big asifa here, made an asifa to declare that the Avnei and everything that on the Har HaBayis is Kodesh, and that and that Israel doesn't have a right to give it to the Arabs. Okay, that's one article. Another article is the Waqf. Kollel Israel gave the Har HaBayis to the Goyim. We spoke about this many times. Why? Because
To make peace?
no, I don't know. Because it felt
To peace.
so. What happened was that they apparently a few hundred years ago there was a massive earthquake in Shalim, and the rock, the dome of the rock had collapsed, and they rebuilt it. And somewhere in the Har HaBayis, they still have the old beams that were holding up the building. So they went recently and they sold it recently, a couple of years ago. They sold it to a junkyard, to an Arab. So there was a Yid that said to himself, maybe these stones, maybe this wood, maybe these woods are from the Zman HaMikdash. So he went and he bought it. But he was scared to get the Israeli Antiquities involved, because they'll come and take it away. And who knows if they're going to sit in some machzam for 150 years. So the problem was that he himself also couldn't afford. He was a Yid that he's an architect, a building architect. He actually had gone with the Israeli military 4 months ago to help them out on an issue in Lebanon. And Achmon al-Islam, the building had been movie trapped, and he died al Kiddush Hashem 4 months ago. His family, the wood is sitting there in the yard of the house, and at Lag Ba'omer time, kids were looking for wood, so they realized half the wood is missing. The kids in the neighborhood took the wood for Lag Ba'omer, a bonfire. So the family said, "You know what? Enough is enough." They brokered a deal with the Israel Antiquities that they will take it, but they will immediately do research on it to find out, to date these woods. Maybe it's Mizman Bayis Rishon, maybe it's Mizman Bayis Sheni. In my mind, I think it's Narish. Both the Mikdashas were put on fire. How could wood withstand fire? Wood would never withstand fire.
Stone
Huh?
looks different. So I find natural. Stone the bird.
No, it's like I call skin the kabel but stones shine, but the stones were left.
Real fire.
Okay, so that's what's kedai. The violet's an interesting article. So, question: were the kids over b'shoigig? If it turns out that these are from the Arze Alavonim from Shlomo Melech, were they moil behektish when they use it for the Lag Ba'omer fire? And liidach, my question is, what's really the din? With the Israel antiquities, I understand it's a chutzpah. I understand it's a chutzpah for Israel antiquities to go and take from the stones to the Harabayas to send it to Japan for a display. Even the display in the Ben Gurion Airport, it's a chutzpah. I want to explain something. They wouldn't do anything on the Harabayas, which is the Mokum HaMikdash, without asking permission from the Arabs, right? Because they respect religion. But the Jewish religion, there's zero respect. Even if we're going to discuss it now, al pi halacha, if it's mutter or osef. But I want to make a massive disclaimer. Because even if it's going to turn out at the end of our pilpul that Isser is not so big, I once told the story. There was very choshev orchim that came Lubavitch. Abonim, very choshev orchim. The Rebbe Rashab was very close to very choshev and abonim bismanoi. It was very close to the Goyne and Gedoli Yisrael bismanoi. And there was a few of them. I don't know in the story who was there, but the very choshev abonim came to Lubavitch, and they were there Shabbos as guests of the Rebbe Rashab. And what happened was at the meal, someone came in and said that the lady in the kitchen forgot to put a blech or something. So the Rebbe Rashab immediately took this bowl of soup and he moved it to the side. The Rebbetzin was like nechrad. So the Rebbe Rashab is not eating the soup. None of the orchim, none of the rabbonim that were there were going to eat. So she called quickly my Zayda, Elta Zayda, HaShem Yinkum Domai, to the kitchen, and she asked him, please, what could you help me out? So my Zayda went and he asked the cook in the kitchen, what happened? He worked it through in his mind that the soup was kosher v'yosher. He came and he whispered to the Rebbe Rashab that the soup is kosher. He said, my Zayda used to love to tell the story. Drei Mola the Rebbe Rashab gesagt, my Tate Zainish ken Schwanz. So he said, he told him quietly, Zainish ken Schwanz. The Bible told us nicht wissen. My Zayda said that the food is mutter. So the Rebbe Rashab said, Zainish ken Schwanz. The Bible told us nicht wissen. The woman in the kitchen should never know this, that it's really mutter. Why? Because if she's going to know it's mutter, then, it's a slippery. There's a shayla that Rebbe Rashab moved aside the plate, that's it, it's over. If she knows that he moved aside the plate and then he moved it back, other things are going to happen in the kitchen. So, I'm telling you a story. The story I heard from my Zayda, obviously, my Elta Zayda not only didn't take it as a scorn, but took it as the biggest compliment that the Rebbe Rashab spoke to him, like this. But, 1 second. If it comes out from our pilpul today that it's not so bad what the Israeli government did, is eichet. You know what I mean? It's still, it's mavilas arayon that they're being mechalal the Mokum HaMikdash by giving it to the Arabs. And when it comes to the things that are in our hands, they wouldn't even bother to ask them. There's a rabbanut in Israel, right? There is a rabbanut that they believe in. That's their rabbanut, right? So why wouldn't they at least lefonim b'shar la'itza kalapei chutz? So, okay, that's before we start the sugya. Yeah.
The thing for thing with the stone, Japan, it's not against halacha.
We'll find out. That's what we're going to talk about.
And the other thing is that did they do this to like just
I guess
try to make peace?
I don't know. I don't know.
Wait, isn't this a key about the people's balancing?
Yeah.
Music playing.
You're sounding like a Lubavitcher with limit schus. It's very good.
Do they know where these stones were situated, our lives? Were the archaeologists from that article, the archaeologists, able to identify where the stones were?
Not in this article and not on the display in the Ben Gurion Airport.
That may make it different. Which was big gods, if they were outer stones, I guess it would.
We'll talk about it. That's what we want to talk about. Okay,
Thank you.
let's read quickly over here. Let's read quick. Talk to Gemara. It says in the Gemara, and the reason why it's very negeya, this Shabbos, I was like shocked. There was a Yid that came here by this shir, that we learned Lakutei Torah, and Nebuch HaMaoretz, who said that he went on the Mokum of the Harabayas. Nebuch. And then he said that he brought back a rock with him. That's Monolitzlan. You know what? From the Harabayas. You know what? There's a story they tell in this article that there was a person that he was a CEO of one of the big companies, and his wife was sick, and he heard that there's a segula if you take from the stones of the Harabayas that would heal you. So he asked. So he had a friend, Israeli friend, who went into the Harabayas and chiseled out a rock from somewhere and sent him the rock. Put it under his wife's pillow. The next morning, she was dead. So this is nishkin spiel. If the story is true, I don't know. This is Ken. כך הוא מביא את הסיפור הזה. כן. הרב זילברשטיין מספר את זה. Okay. So I don't know what happened to them. I'm just telling you the story that telling me. It's nishkin gelechten. But still, I want to look through it. You know what the Gemara Rashi Tosfos, and then we'll talk about it. Huh?
משה מונטיפיורי עשה עלה להר הבית עם 4 ערבים, לקחו אותו במגדל מגדל להר הבית, אחרי זה העדה החרדית, הוקיעו אותו, אז הוא הלך על 4, הוא לא ידע את ההלכה, שאומר את זה הוא הלך על 4, הוא הוריד את הנעל, הלך על 4, סליחה, נידו אותו, עשו לו פרץ.
כן.
פשוט תרם מיליונים.
כן.
תרם מיליונים בירושלים.
אבל הם העד החרדס נידו.
הוא לא ידע ההלכה.
כן, הוא היה המורץ. It's for 140 years. This week was his yortzeit.
כן, נכון.
This was his yortzeit. He was a very good person. One of the things, he went all the way through Russia, and he met with the Tsar to try to, so there was an article I was reading. There was in the city of where the Rogachev was and Meir Simcha was. He stopped in that city in Vince. It was before the Meir Simcha was a Rav. There was a Rav. It was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe. He was an old man. His name was Baruch Batlan. Batlan was a compliment. Batlan was a compliment. That means that, yeah, he sat and learned German Balayla. The people called him Batlan as a murdedik compliment. So they had a big Suda Lakovid, the Moses Montefiore, and he had brought with him wine. So, and the Rav refused to drink the wine. Because it was a megulach, yeah, he could trust, is not trusted. So the Balabatim were very upset at the Rav. So in the article I read that the Montefiore felt it was a godless, and he stood up and he said, I respect you all, but I doubly respect the rabbi who's not going to be machnef to me, and he has his principles and he didn't drink my wine.
Wow.
So he was a good person. He was taka, he was nicht gewusst. He made a mistake. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, interesting. Zak the Gemara. Let's read. Dvinsk. Today it has some other name. Zak the Gemara. There was the Beis HaMoikid, which was half of it wasn't the Beis HaMikdash and Bekoidish, and half was Bechoil. And there was 4 in every corner of the Beis HaMoikid. There was a lishka. So there was 4 lishkas in the Beis HaMoikid, and there was Chatzi Bekoidish, Chatzi Bechoil. This was the Beis HaMoikid. The kohanim would sleep there, and there were little things in the floor to show you which half is Bekoidish, which half is Bechoil. And one of these lishkas in the corner, which was Bechoil, was used. The Gemara, the Braisa says it was used. Gonzu Beis Chashmenoi as Avnei Mizbech Sheshikzu Anshe Yova. The that they were meshakets these avonim from the mizbeach, using it for avodah zarah, because the avonim used the mizbeach for avodah zarah. Amar Papa Hasam Kra Ashka Chudrosh. It's not negay the Hemshech Gemara, so just negay what we're learning now. That there was a pasuk that they found in the Darshan. The Ksiv, it says Aboba Pritzim v'Chilalu. They said the pasuk says that when the Pritzim come, they're machalal the kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash. Omri, the Chashmonaim said, "Hey Chinevid, what should we do with these stones? If we're going to break it and try to rebuild it, Avonim Shleimus Amarachmona. You have to be Avonim Shleimus, which is in the Parsha, and then next week, the week after. Then Asirinu, if we should straighten it out, Loitana Falaim Barzel Amarachmona. So in other words, to break it and say it's not anymore Avodah Zarah, but you can't break it to take away the Avodah Zarah of it. So what are they going to do? So why didn't they break the stones of, if you said Bo Pritzim Vayichalelua, it's not Kedusha anymore, break it and go build a house with it for your own house. Mila Amar Boshia Bikshu Likna is called Kesav Azov Shabayla Mishum Kaspa V'Dava Shel Yerushalayim. But Boshia said the Chazal were thinking to say that all Kesav Azov Shabayla should be Asur because they was so much, when they Churban the second Beis Hamikdash, there was so much Kesav Azov that the Romans stole, that they said the old Kesav Azov Shabayla is mixed in with your Kesav Azov Shel Yerushalayim. V'Vinu Mishlama V'Ruba De Alma. And Mabai Bikshu Lignas the Yona Hadriyaina Turaina Shifa. That there was two kings, Adrian and his uncle Turaina, Adraina and Turaina, and they made matbeis that to Shifa, that were Meshufshif or whatever the pshat of Shifa is, and they used the gold and silver from Yerushalayim. Oh, so that's what they obviously inherited. Why? Because we know that Adrian is about 50 years after the Churban. But Sanishkin Kashim, they stole an incredible amount of Kesav Azov from Yerushalayim, and they put it in the basic Anozim in Rome. And we know that Adrian is the father of all anti-Semites. Amish, we know Adrian hated Yidden, the Dasora Ruga Malchus. The revolt of Bar Kochva comes because Adrian was so nasty to the Jews that he forced them into this revolt. Like modern anti-Semitism, dates back a lot to Adrian. Adrian had this thing. He's an anti-Semite. Adrianus Caesar. So it stands to reason that even though it's 50 years after the Churban, Adrianus Caesar, the whole thing was against the Jews, so he went and took out from the Beis Hagnozim, could be the earlier Malachim in Rome, were at least embarrassed to go and use the Kesav Azov that they stole from the Beis Hamikdash, and he went and he made matbeas. He made special coins that had a picture of him on the matbeya, using the Kesav Azov Shel Yerushalayim. So Chazal, Bikshu, they were thinking to make a gzeira that you're not allowed to use these coins, and then they decided against it. Mipnei Tiva Shel Yerushalayim, Hachamotza Ba Mikra Min HaTorah Shemuta, Ubo Bo Pritzim V'Chilulua, that Bo Pritzim V'Chilulua, and therefore they said you're allowed to use this matbeya. The coins were not nishtamish l'gavoya. Ochak even nishtamish l'gavoya, but over here, because it was used l'gavoya, lav urchet ar l'shtamusha b'badyoita. The coins, they said, it was neschala. The kedusha went away, and therefore they said you're allowed to use the coins. But the rocks that were used for the mizbeach, even though the kedusha is not here, the Chashmonaim said that it's not nice that the rocks that were used for the Eibishter should be now used for a hedyot. It's not nice. It's not nice. Taka, there's no kedusha, but it's not nice. Lav urcha are lishtamusha bo adyoita. It was nishtamish l'gavoya. This was stones for the mizbeachs, even though technically there's no kedusha, and not nice. Let's read quickly Rashi and the Rishonim. Rashi says, "Given the nafke lechulim can you befkeid avlu the duke shtam shel veskechom nas toises rit mishum kas vazav shel shleim pirish de goim lav nem ilan nil shot shel chulim al yodem because shos aimim lav de ashke chikra vechilulua afagav de lav nem ilan nil nischal al yodem. The goim can't have meila. When a person is moil behektish, it becomes goes al chulin. But the goyim, it's not shaykh from Meila for that. But they said because bo pritzim the chilulua, therefore you might ask, what's the difference if it became chulin because Meila or bo pritzim? We're soon going to see in the Rambam, a tshuva from the Rambam to answer that question. Why couldn't they build a nice building in the Azora from these rocks? It's not nice to use avonim from the Mizbeach to make a house in the Azora because Mizbeach is a Mizbeach to HaShem. You're going to use these rocks.
Well, read the Kedusha.
It's not nice. Not nice. Lab urchad adam to go from Kedusha Mizbeach to Kedusha Azora. Oy, yesh loimer, shoyitzrichim shaloi hoyu probably. Shaloi yotzrichim shum binyan ba'Azora. Let's learn next Gemara. The Gemara in the Dorm Daf Samuel Bezer Tarf Ashkechel Ugabri B'Zman Shukfula Mikzos Dokochel Achse Besake B'Shakl V'Amtel Mishte Benarek. If Tarfin was the end of the season and the figs were hefker, and there's an Ein Behem Mishum Gezel, and also that Potter Ben Amaisis, and he was eating a few of these figs. Now the Gemara is going to say later that Tarfin was very rich, and really was his field. What happened was that all winter, all summer, all season, there were Ganovim that was stealing the fruits, and there was a guard, and he couldn't find who's the Ganav. Now he doesn't know who the Tarfin is. He doesn't even know who's the CEO of the company. He has no idea that a Tarfin is really the owner of this field and another 300 fields. He knows he's getting paid, and all season people are stealing figs. Enough is enough. Gechap the Ganav. So he grabs him, he puts him in a bag, he ties the top of the bag, and he says, I'm going to throw you in a river, you're going to die, you filthy Ganav. And if Tarfin is thinking to himself, Nebuch, he's going to be killed right now. So, Omar loy, oy loy Tarfin shezeh hargay. So Tarfin said it to himself, woe to you, Tarfin, that you're being killed. Shamahu gabre shafke v'arak. When the person heard that he really was about to kill the Tarfin, he was so embarrassed, he dropped the bag, and he ran away. So eventually the Tarfin ripped the bag open and he went out and that saved his life. So the Gemara says, Amar Babo Mishum Ninya ben Gamliel, Kol Yom of Shaloi Tzatzayim Etzadik Al Dov Hazeh. All his life the Tarfin was upset. Why was he upset? Amar Oy li sheishtamashti bekisar shel Torah. Woe to me that I used the crown of Torah. The Gemara says later that he should have told him, I'm going to pay you money. I'll pay you money to save my life. But because he said, Oy loy lazeh, Oy loy l'tarfin, and now because the person, in other words, he would have killed him. But now he found out it's a tarfin, he didn't kill him. So he used out Kisr Shel Torah. So therefore the tarfin his whole life was upset about it. Huh? Tarfin. V'im kol zeh, הוא יצטער. עם כל זה יצטער. ואומר רבא בחומר רבי יוחנן, כל משתמש בכיסא של תורה נקם מן העולם, כל וחומר, מה בלשץ שנשתמש בכלי קודש שנעשה כלי חול? שנאמר בו פריצים בחילולו, כיוון שפרצן עשה חול, נקם מן העולם, כסיב בי בלילה לקוטל דשעצר, משתמש בכיסא של תורה שחי וקיים לעולם, הלכת כמה וכמה. It says in Daniel that Belshazzar, the king Belshazzar, which later came Achashverosh, right? That was a special night with the writing on the wall, right? This expression, the writing is on the wall. That night, Belshazzar was killed. And why was he killed? He was killed because he used the kalim of the Beis Hamikdash in the banquet that he made. So the Gemara says, but why was he killed for that? As soon as the goyim come into the Beis Hamikdash, it's disgraced, and therefore the kedusha goes away. There's no more kedusha in this kalim. They're chulin. So the answer is he was killed because true, it's chulin. It's not. It's chulin, but sepastish. These are kalim that were used from Melech, Malcha, Bochem, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, in the Beis Hamikdash. Even though technically there's no kedusha on it, it's not nice. It's not nice that it should be used. Huh?
They were made for bite chicken.
Belshazzar was using it at a banquet to drink wine.
They built bite chicken.
Well, that's a separate thing. The Gemara says that even though Shreddis is also nana, so and it's all the same reason. The Gemara says even though bo pritzim v'chilelua, even though bo pritzim there was no kedusha on it, but still it's not nice that a goy should use the kalim of the Beis Hamikdash. Okay. Let's read quickly Shita Mekubetzes, 2 pieces. One is Aladaf, another one is on Gemara Bavmetzia. Pirush Kivish Portzum Shenog Ben Pritzes Nasachel Pirush Nasachel B'Shosh Nishtamish Ben B'Tziv Bo Pritzum V'Chilul Kivish Portzum Pritz Nasachel Mutal Lonis Ben Neker Min Oil Afa Pish Mutal Lonis Ben Hanim L'Yisrael Avo Gabi Pritzem Adayim B'Kedushos Meimoindim V'Anisham Aleim Shelo Yechoytim Niskonim. There's 2 chidushim that I see in the Shita Gebetz. One of all, it's mashma that only become choil when once the goyim use it. It's from all the other Rishonim, it sounds like as soon as they came into the base of Mikdash, it already became nischala. And another thing is that the Isser is only lagabe the goyim. It's mashma because the goyim shelo yechoyt niska. But mashma, if it was lagabe yid, it wouldn't be an Isser. Now the Israeli government, even the secular, they're not goyim, they're yid. So that's something important to keep in mind. Shita Mekubetzes on Bab Metzida Chob Dalam at Bay says like this: Shuvah Shaila La Ramban Koso V'Zelu Shoyne Mutik Meloshen Aravi. Shalta Mishakono Min Asherlim Sifri Kodesh Lemiktas Beis Knesset Shemendinas Im Neme Shakono Oy Nichpeu Ala Ki Chosed Mimenu Vim Neme Sheilu Kchmenu Balkor Chimnos Lasar Shakono Ba Vim Yazel Oise Beis Knesset Zatzim Lo Zelosing. Goyim went, Arabs went, and they stole books from a Beis Knesset. Someone bought it from them. Question is he obligated to give it back to the Beis Knesset, or he's allowed to keep it, or he's asked to give it back to Beis Knesset, take the money from the Beis Knesset? Tshuva, then I'm going to answer like this. In Mezuzah of a mitzvah samelech, if the king said that they have the right to go b'mavaza this Beis Knesset, Kona u'botl din hekdesh v'afila kli amikdash k'shenishlalou botl k'dushosem v'amru baba pritzim v'chilalu. Omnam im shalolu b'lirishu samelech oy nignavu yishava menakitas chayfetz kama oitzi. Bittel v'yachza zeh sefer l'makom kedim mishen izbar lona boy shengom v'lo ikela v'svara. It's interesting. I once did with you a tshuva here on a Sunday, a tshuva from Rav Eliyashiv when he was in the Bezdin, in the Bezdin in Rishalayim. Of a din Torah of a person that saw in the Israeli museum a keser from a Torah that was from his family, and there was he said the Israeli museum should give it back to him. So in the tshuva, the bottom line of the tshuva that Yashiv wrote depends if it was taken by if the Nazis took it, so then it's bottled the kedusha, and also it's bottled the kinyan of him. And it belongs to the Israeli museum, it doesn't have to return it. But if it was taken by the Arrow Cross before the Nazis came in to take over the government, and there were just a bunch of bandits, so then it's a b'kedushas yoymet, and therefore the Israel and also bebalusa shel mishpacha zu, and since he was able to prove, the Israeli museum would have to return it.
What's the difference between the Arabs and the Nazis at that time?
20 minutes, 45 minutes of information behind this, so he can ask me afterwards. So,
Would we have to pay for it? Would we have to pay for it?
No, see, no. The Rav Eliyashiv said simple. If it was taken by once the Nazis went into government in
Then it's not a public portion. But if it was before,
then they would have to return it to him. They'd have to return.
let's say they bought it. Meaning that they bought it.
It makes no difference. That was the bottom line. Let's now return to there's a beautiful tshuva. There's a beautiful tshuva in a sefer Peir Alavonon. Peir Alavonon is a yid Simcha Bunim with a name Simcha Bunim. You know right away he's a Gerech Oscar. A yid. He writes in the Akdam of the sefer that he was in Warsaw in the time of the war. He ended up in Shiva Medura Gehinim Shalmaila v'Shalmata, and he survived. Then he was a Rav of a Chassidish Kehila in Hendon in London. What's the family name? Lieberman. Simcha Bona Lieberman. And he decided if he's going to go out of this Gehenim, that he wants to dedicate his life to Binyan HaMikdash, to the idea of Binyan HaMikdash. He wrote several svarim called Pe'er Halavonon, the beauty of the base of Mikdash. So he has a tshuva between him and Rav Patva, also in London, about an interesting shaila. They wanted to use one of the stones of the Harabayas to make it as a bima for a Beis HaKnesses. I don't know if it was a real Shiloh. They wanted to use a stone from the Harabayis to make a bima for a Beis HaKnesses. So the tamtzis of his tshuva is like this. The tamtzis of his tshuva is that first of all, there is the Gemara says in the end of Megillah there was a Beis HaKnesses called Shaf Yosef in Bovel. Shaf Yosef. Shaf Yosef. He stood up and he sat down again. Rashi says they took their stones from Yerushalayim with Yechonia, Melech Yehuda, and they built a Beis HaKnesses in Bovel. And the Aruch says they took stones from the Makam HaMikdash. So he said, according to the Aruch, so they took stones from the Mikdash. So you see, you're allowed to take stones from the Mikdash, and you're allowed to use it now for the Beis HaMikdash, even though it's not lav urche the malka that a hedyet should use his things, but a Beis HaMikdash is the Eibishter, and a shul is the Eibishter. So the shul is not called a hedyet. A shul is not called a hedyet lagabe the Eibishter. That's the thrust of his tshuva. It's about 12 pages his tshuva. I would be ma'oder that if you read the Tosfos Rid that I showed you before, the Tosfos Rid asked, why didn't the Chashmonaim go and build a binyan in the Azara, one of the lishkas in the Azara from the stones of the Mizbeach? And he said no, because the Mizbeach is so choshev, you can't even build a lishka in the Azara. Then he gave a second answer that there was no need for the stones. But the nafkamina between the two answers in the Tosfos Rid would be the question of Rabbi Lieberman. I would think that he is, as the kedusha of a shul is so big, but still it wouldn't be more than one of the lishkas in the Azara. And if, according to Tosfos Rid, once these stones were used for the Mizbeach, even though they were in a schalal, you're not allowed to use it to build a lishka in the Azara. Kolshkin, you can't use it to build a bima in the Beis HaKnesses. And you could argue with me, but I wouldn't say. Huh? Okay, so that's one part of his truva. But the other thing that is very nice in his truva is, and that's something that you have to think a little bit about. He says that the Mizbeach is like a klishoris. The kedusha is in the cheftzah. But the avonim that they built in the choimas harabayis, it was made mitrumas alishkin. It was hektish. But there was who says that the kedusha was in the cheftzah, the rock? Maybe it was kedushas hadomim. If it's kedushas hadomim, it would be just like the kesef v'zohar that Adrian took, and he made it into coins. And Chazal said you're allowed to use it because bo pritzim v'chalalua. Chazal didn't say, oh, but it's a chutzpah. Because this money belonged to the Beis HaMikdash, you're not allowed to use it. Chazal didn't say that. Why? Because there's a difference between the money that belongs to Hektish and the rocks. The money that belongs to Hektish is not a Kedusha Necheftzah. It's a Kedusha Zadomim. So Bo Pritzim Vaychalalua, the Kedusha is off. So Chazal said, okay, you're allowed to use that coins, it's not a problem. But the rocks from the Mizbeach, which is Kedusha Sacheftzah, even though the Kedusha was already Nischalal, but they said, Lav Urcha, the Malka, it's not nice that a head that you use these rocks. So which rocks are we talking about over here? If we're talking rocks from the Beis HaMikdash, which you can push is in the Cheftza, so then you're not allowed to use it. You have to be going as it. And maybe you could use it for a basic nesses. I don't think so. But if it's rocks from the Harabayis, yeah. So it's Lav Urcha de Malka. But if you'd say it's the rocks of the Harabayis, so maybe it's not a Kedusha in the Chefts. It's similar to the Kedusha of the gold and silver that belong to the Beis HaMikdash, which belongs to the Bedek HaBayis. It belongs to the Eibishter. But still, it's not a Kedusha Sachefza. It's a Kedusha Sadomim. And therefore, once Bo Pritzim V'Chalalua, just like they said you're allowed to use the coins from Adrian, you're allowed to use these stones. So therefore, he brings a lot of tshuvas. There was the Chido has a tshuva that they were growing grapes on the Harabayis. You're allowed to eat those grapes.
At what point? What point were they growing grapes on the Harabayis?
200 years ago.
Oh, not very.
So the Chido, whenever the Chido lived. So the bottom line is he's leaning L'Kula on this. So if he's right, so now the question would be, what you asked before. The rock that the Israel antiquities put right now at the Ben Gurion Airport. Mezuzah. If it's Avnei Hamikdosh, it's Chayiv Gniza. It's also. If it's Avnei Harabayis, no, it wouldn't be Isamila. The Chayiv Gniza wouldn't be Isamila because it's Yotze L'chulam. It would only be that it's a chutzpah to use it, and it has Chayiv Gniza. Chayiv Gniza Miderabona. But probably the Schiv Gniza is Miderabona. It's hard.
The stone that the court is considered like from Hanabai.
So the Kollel Maravi is mostly everyone. I mean, there's a discussion about it, but Bapasha, these are the walls of the Harabayis. So because they're the walls of the Harabayis, so maybe you could say that the Kedusha is not in the Hefza. It's like the Kesef Azov Shel Beis HaMikdash. Right. So therefore, it wouldn't be Chayiv Gniza. It wouldn't be Chayiv Gniza. So therefore, therefore, it wouldn't be such a terrible thing what the Israel antiquities did. But like the Rebbe Rashab said to my elder Zayd, the Zainish Kishmans, the Yida Tordas Nishvis. This is for me and you to know. But the Israel antiquities, who gave away, Moshe Dayan gave away Mokem HaMikdash to the Arabs, because out of respect to the Arabs. So lo yeh
not tuned into the shir, the Israel Antiquities office. They're not tuned in.
They're not tuned in. So it's a chutzpah. It's a chutzpah. But to say that it's chayiv gniza and it's also so lav dafka it's also. But the truth is that it's probably shaykh to check. Because there is a way, I'm not sure, but there might be a way, because from the style of the stone, is there a way to figure out if a stone is really from the walls of the Harabayis, or is it from the Beis HaMikdash itself?
The style of the stone, the exterior. It has like a border.
The border.
Right.
It could be the Bavnei HaMikdash did not have a border.
So we don't know anything about that.
So
We only know about the Harabayis.
Right.
So there's no photographs of the. We also know that there's no campus in that.
right. So I'm saying if it's
That's right.
right. So I'm saying, is it possible to determine if this rock in the Ben Gurion Airport is from the Harabayis or from the Mikdash?
We don't know what the Mikdash look like.
Okay.
That's it.
So then it's a suffix. It's chayiv gniza. Then it would be a suffix. Huh? So that would be the shaila. I think it would come down to that.
שלא שמו את מגילת הציונות, לא שמו את מגילת הציונות בפתח, שמו להם שלא אנגלס יותר טוב. שלא שימו את מגילת הציונות שם. זה באמת בושה.
Rabbi, question. In Rome, in the church, they have all Ginze Mikdash.
Yeah.
They have Gniza. We have to tell them thank you because you put in Gniza. Nobody watch it. Nobody touches it.
We don't tell them anything.
So what we do?
We said that a Rebbeinu Shalom will take care of them like he took care of Belshazzar.
Okay.
Okay, I want to do quickly two chilas that was asked. I just get straight to the point. There's today there's nursing homes and there's unbelievable disrespect to people that are old. But there's the Rebbe, his father passed away 81 years ago on Chofov, and in the year Tovshin Mem Aleph, and the Rebbe had a fabrengen like this Pashas Ekev, and the Rebbe said that by Klal Yisrael, Zokin Zeshakona Chochma, Fakeret, a person who's older has more experience. In America and in Western society, an older man, an older woman is cast aside. Tashlicheni le'ezikna is cast aside. But in Judaism, an older man, an older woman has chshivus because ein chochem kebal anisoyim zokin zeshakona chochma. You're chayiv to be machabed a zokin, even a zokin ashmoi. You should be machabed. That even if he's not a, but the Rebbe said to start a thing called Kollel Zakeinim, Kollel Tefer Zakeinim, and that they should make shiurei limud Torah for people that are in nursing homes or older men and women that are retired, that their golden years should be used in learning Torah. Then the Rebbe told an unbelievable story. the Rebbe, as soon as the Rebbe spoke about it, obviously Lubavitcher Siddim started going to nursing homes, and so the Rebbe said he got a letter from a nursing home, from a doctor in a nursing home. There was an old man that they thought he all of a sudden he became. They thought that he became a sugar. I'll read it in the Yiddish word. They thought as nit shofer bedaite. Yeah, whatever it is, there's not shofer bedaite. A few months he wasn't talking to anyone. Yeah, he would eat, he would drink, he'd go to the bathroom, he didn't talk, he didn't communicate. 6 months or something. A bocher came in with a lulav esrik in his hand. The guy stood up and he took the lulav esrik and he made the brocha and he did the nanuim. Wow. The doctor said he was amazed. He was mesmerized. Wow. Yes. He couldn't believe it. The doctor wrote to the Rebbe, hat sich der Socken aufgehoben von sein Hinterfeld und hat mitten am Ort erkennt, alles was es tut sich an ihm. Und hat gemacht auf dem die Broche mit Chilava Zeufe und keine Schumhilf. That he stood up from his stupor. He stood up from being 6 months. And warum, wenn der Bocher ist mit dem Lulav und Esrik, hat sich in ihm der Mond auf seine Yemei Haneidus, hat es ihm aufgehäuben von seinem Hinterfeld. I don't even know this word Hinterfeld. I don't know what it means. Hinterfeld means, yeah, he lifted, all of a sudden he went, there's a story that I had a neighbor we lived in an apartment building, 520 Crown Street. And his name was Reb Zalman Teibel. Never didn't have any children. He went through a lot in the war years. He was our neighbor. And it was a very choshev Yid. And the Soif Yomov, he had Alzheimer's. And he was in a nursing home in Williamsburg. And this story, so it was told by Zalman Chanan, who was the printer, look at the sikhs. So the Rebbe was giving out lekach, and he decided he's going to go to the nursing home and bring Zalman Teibel to get a piece of lekach to the Rebbe. So he went there with a car, and he took him in the car. He took a wheelchair, and he brought him to the 70. He put him in the wheelchair, and he brought him. He was what they call in Yiddish in ganzen Zakalach. He was not communicating. He wasn't, and he came in front of the Rebbe. He put out his hand, and the Rebbe bent over to him. And the Rebbe started saying, Apparently, this was a song that Zalman Teibel had brought with him from Europe, and he was very, very into this song. He used to sing it all the time. It's in the 70s. Ano Avda the Kuchabrichu is from the Tefillah Brich Shmei. It's a beautiful Chabad song. And all of a sudden, the man's eyes lit up. I could see that, and he started to sing. And the whole and that was these things happen in seconds in front of him. And he said, all the way back to the nursing home, he went back 20 years. It was a B'riya Chadasha. So the thing is, nursing homes, it's very sad to say a lot of them are owned by fluent people. And first thing is, you have to give them kosher food, kosher l'mahadre, even if it's more expensive. If neighbor l'sit michshol is a din in the Torah, just because you're making a little more money by if you have a yid in your nursing home, you have to feed him kosher betachlis, regardless if the person was religious before he came to the nursing home or not. But on top of that, if the nursing homes had any seichel, they would have shiurei Torah, and they would have Friday night. They would make for the Jewish people that they should make kiddush and make havdalah, and they'd make shiurei Torah. You don't have to have deep shiurim in the Shitta Mekubetzis about the Avnei Hamikdash, if it's Neschalel or it's not Neschalel. But they could learn stories that Tarfin was dragged into a bag, and all the beautiful stories in Ein Yaakov, and that's all Torah, and you make a bracha before and after, and there would be a different quality of life to these people. We're talking about the quality of life. Quality of life for a Yid is, our oxygen is Torah and mitzvahs. Someone asked me on Shabbos, because we were talking about the Mezuzah, that there's this new thing putting on the mezuzah sticker. I love you, Hashem. Those are beautiful stickers. He asked me if it's appropriate to put under the mezuzah. I can't say, but is it Baal Toisef? I don't know if it's Baal Toisef. But bemis is a mezuzah. We don't need anything more than the mezuzah. The sticker.
On the top itself?
No, chas v'shalom, right under the mezuzah. The sticker is right under the mezuzah, or on the cover of the mezuzah. I can't say it's Baal Toisef, but just like we had here, that there's we can't make our own gzeidas. Me and you can't make gzeidas. Chazal could make gzeidas. So even if we think that it's inappropriate, can't say it didn't write it on the cloth. If you stuck it out on the outside of the mezuzah, I can't say it's also. I don't think it's appropriate. You can want to put stickers in your dining room, in your living room, put it wherever you want. The mezuzah is a mezuzah. But the mezuzah itself says, I love you, Hashem.
And the mail said, underneath the mezuzah, they had, say it. You say it, I love you. A lot of places do that.
I wouldn't add to the mezuzah. It's all good. The mezuzah itself is I love you, Hashem. I wouldn't add any stickers in the top, on the bottom, in the middle, and the side. If a person does it, I wouldn't say it's like the Rambam says, Elu, Shekoisum, Shemus, Malochim, Betoich HaKlav, Tipshim, Elam Chelik Abod. That's something else. That's when you're writing it on the cloth of the mezuzah. Here, I wouldn't say it's so bad, but no necesito. That's what I would say. No necesito. I mean, you don't have to add, you don't have to subtract. The mezuzah itself is Shoym Bedaltus Yisrael. We don't have to add to it. Okay, David Shalhoffman, it should be Taka Shoym Bedaltus Yisrael. Hashem Yishmer Tzes
The rabbi was talking about nursing home. We have Rafael Rosa Cohen used to daven here. There's a nursing home next to Maimonides, room 228. It's a mitzvah to visit it. Anyone can go. Room 228. Yeah. Rafael Rosa Cohen used to come here all the time. It's already more than 2 years in rehab, nursing home. Room 228. He likes ginger ale. If you drink him ginger ale, if you have.
Okay. Thank you very much for everyone that's joining us. Atzloch, have a wonderful week.
Yashikoah.